Romance at a glance. Romance at a glance.
What you say now?
Romance at a glance.
Go ahead, girl.
Well, hello, dear listeners, and welcome to another episode of Romance at a Glance. I'm your host, Bridget. With me, as always, is my co-host, Shawnee. How you doing today, Shawnee?
Bridget, I'm so ready to talk about this book. We waited all season to talk about this book. Let's do this.
Yes, we are in the season finale, episode 10 of season 2, and we are talking about Lover at Last, book 11 of the Black Dagger Brotherhood. Let's get it poppin'.
Okay, Bridget, let's talk Blay and Quinn. Let's talk Blay and Quinn.
Okay, let's quickly go through the deets, for folk, and then let's get into it. So where we left off in the last book was we had our magical ending for No One, who becomes Autumn, and Tohr, saved by Lassiter, of all people, at the nth hour, another magical savior of one of the females. And at the very, very end of the book, Quinn finally is like making direct eye contact with Blay, and he's like, yeah, that's right, boy. Our time has come. And I was like, it's gonna go down. It's gonna go down. I was very excited. Looking at the cover of this book. Did you like the cover? The hoodie, the abs showing, the arms, the dagger, the eye contact, the jaw clench.
I mean, I feel like this is the only cover that actually matched the brother for me. Like, it looks like I kind of imagined Quinn to look like. I only wish that Blay was also on the cover.
Yeah. Yeah, like, why isn't Blay, like, his shock of red hair behind him or something? Like,
exactly.
biting him.
Exactly. And then it kind of implies that Blay is the girl in the relationship because it's usually, the books are about the brother and then insert whichever girl. So the fact that Blay's not there, to me, I'm like, I'm just like,
yeah, Blay is the girl. Blay's the girl. Blay's the girl.
Where's Blay?
Yeah. If you guys have been listening, you know that I've been literally waiting for this book the whole season. I've been so excited. I love the buildup of their story. There were a couple things that jumped out to me right away upon rereading. One is which I don't remember at all what happened in this book, as per usual. And the second thing is that John Matthew wasn't in this book at all, which makes no sense to me. Because he's their, not only is he their best friend, but at least for the first half of the book, Quinn is supposed to still be with him at all times.
Yeah.
So,
but they changed the rule so he didn't have to be with him while he was in the mansion or whatever.
Right. Yeah, and I guess the book does take place over like 4 days and then like fast forwards a week right at the very, very end. So this book does not take place over very many days, but still makes no sense that John Matthew's not in it.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
And the other thing is that I have loved Blay, as you know, so much. I think that he has always been so like beautifully in like such a violent and sort of aggressive world. He's maintained such a beautiful innocence and like purity to his love for Quinn, but also like his love for John Matthew and like standing up for him. And he's just been like the dopest.
Yeah.
And in this book, he was a petty ass bitch who lied to Quinn the whole time.
I know, Bridget. I feel the same way. Oh my
and I was
goodness.
so unhappy. Like, he literally lies to Quinn about the fact that he's not with Saxton anymore until the 96% of the book. I looked it up because I was like, what's happening? So, like, we don't actually get them to be in a relationship. Like, we don't get any relationship. This book feels like they were almost like, they were like the main couple, but also like there were so many things, other main couples in this book that they weren't even the main couple. And then they didn't even get to have the like, we're in a relationship conversations in front of us. That was all just like sped through in like one paragraph. Like, oh, they talked through everything in that week. What the fuck? What the fuck, Shawnee?
Oh my God. Okay, so I was way more interested in SOOO and Sola. How do you say her name? Sola. Oh, Sola, that's right. Sola. Like Marisol. Yeah, I was way more interested in SOOO and Sola. Like, now I'm like, oh wait, I never read their story. I need to get there. Like, that's how I feel. I didn't care to hear Blay and Quinn's parts in the book, and I'm so disappointed. Like, I'm so disappointed. I was looking forward to their love, and I thought that it was so out of character for Blay to not tell Quinn about Saxton, like, for so long. And the fact that went on for so long. And I also thought, like, it was really weird of Quinn as well. I mean, it was in Quinn fashion, but it didn't give him redeeming qualities to me that he was sleeping with Blay, even though he thought Blay was still with Saxton. Like,
yeah, I think she, like, justified that with the fact that Quinn thought that Saxton was cheating on Blay and was basically willing to let Blay use him as revenge because he just wanted him in any way he could have him.
Yeah.
Which is shitty, but also I was just like, I mean, I guess fine. But yeah, it didn't make any sense. It also didn't make any sense to me that Blay doesn't believe anything that Quinn tells him at all.
Yeah.
Until he confesses that he's gay at the very end. And then Blay all of a sudden is like, you're a male of worth. Like, I've always loved you. And I'm like, really? Because you've been a dick this whole book. It just, like, did his, like, all his scenes with him, even at the end when he goes to find him. I know I'm skipping to the very end. We skipped the whole book already. But at the very end, he goes to find him in the club. And as he's looking across the thing, he's like, oh, I know how this goes. Quinn's going to, like, give them the look over and then take them in the bathroom and have sex with them. And it's like, no, he's literally told you you've been celibate for a whole year. He doesn't do that anymore. Like, you haven't seen him do those behaviors. And it's been a year. It's been so long. Yeah. And even though he's, like, it just felt very, like, it felt like that scene should have been halfway through the book.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the book should have unfolded with, like, but I felt like they didn't have any real, like, plot thing that was keeping them apart because Saxton and Blay broke up. And then it was like, she was like, oh, well, I have to put something in there. So Blay's just lying to him because he doesn't want his heart broken again. But, like, I don't know. I just thought that was silly.
I did too. I thought it was silly. I thought it was thin.
It was so thin.
It was so thin. Because I could even see, like, maybe Blay doesn't tell him right away because they make it seem like he doesn't have the opportunity in the very first time to, like, really be like, hey, we broke up. But I mean, Quinn was pounding his face in or whatever. So he could have been like, yo, man, we're not together no more. Like,
yeah.
In fact, him lying to Quinn, I think, makes Saxton look bad. And I don't feel like Blay would put Saxton in a position to look bad. So,
or to be in danger again. Because, like, Saxton even says, like, I think you need to have a conversation with him so that I am safe.
Yeah. And also, Saxton is Quinn's cousin. So sometimes Quinn to me, I'm like, yo, have a little loyalty to your cousin as well. Like, it's a little bit of a weird triangle when family's involved.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And I don't know. And then the whole Layla thing with Quinn and Layla, I did think it was nice, like, that they had Blay be the one to go get Payne to, like, help Layla save the baby and whatnot. But even Layla says to Blay, like, you know, he's in love with you. And even after she said, he's like, what? Like, he didn't hear her. He heard her. Motherfucker, he heard her.
I know. That was halfway through the book.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why do you still not believe this? Literally everyone's telling you the same thing. He's telling you. She's telling you. Like, you know this to be true. You're just too scared. It just, again, it felt so out of character for him. This book was so hard for me to get through. Let's just start from the beginning. Let's go through the things that happened. So at the beginning, we get a little bit of a flashback into Quinn's childhood and his brother getting his ring that all males get when they come of age. And he calls Blay on the phone and is like, Blay's like, I'm going to come over. Because Blay knows Quinn's, like, going to do something crazy, maybe kill himself or just, like, hurt himself or do something. And he talks about, you know, how Blay did that a lot. There were a couple scenes I liked between them. One of which was when Quinn thanks Blay for all the things he did for him. You know, like, thank you for, like, all the times you came over. Thank you for, like, letting me hug your mom and dad, for all the clothes, all the rides, all the friendship, like, all the late nights. Like, I thought that was really nice because I felt like Quinn's character in this book, aside from the fact that he is, like, thinks that Blay's in a relationship, but I felt like his character kind of came, for me at least, to, like, the journey that he had been on continued. So the journey he had been on from, like, just fucking anything that walks and, like, not really giving a shit and kind of being like, fuck you world, to, like, embracing who he was and like becoming like a good man, and like which is obviously rewarded by him getting in the Brotherhood and inducted, and like thanking Blay for all this stuff, apologizing to him for being such an asshole. And I like feel like the story just didn't give him he didn't get the happily ever after that he deserved based on like all of the books of us like going with him on that journey.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Blay for a little bit. Okay? Because Blay at the beginning of this book is like comparing Saxton to Quinn in his mind. And he's like, Quinn would never do that. Saxton's like really well dressed. Quinn could give a fuck, blah, blah. So it's clear in his mind that he's still in love and hung up on Quinn. And obviously Saxton is a classy mofo and is like, look, I did this as long as I could, but this is the end. And I thought their breakup was actually really like respectful and sort of lovely, that they like, it was so like sad because they each wish they could have been that thing for the other person, but they also realized they weren't. And I was like really hopeful at the beginning of the book. I feel like the book like started out strong.
Yeah.
And like set it up like, oh, Blay is actually free. Oh, okay. Quinn is actually like ready for him. Like, I wonder what the thing is going to be. And then Quinn even tells him like, hey, I'm not in love with Layla. I want you to know that. I just wanted a young, like I wanted to have my own thing. It has like, I haven't had sex. I'm changing. I'm being serious, like da da da. And Blay's like such a dick about it. He's like, yeah, whatever. I don't believe you. And I feel like this would be a great opportunity for like Blay. I feel like this would have been a good opportunity for John Matthew to be in the story and Blay be like, oh yeah, Quinn mentioned like he hasn't had sex in a year, and John Matthew's like, yeah, he hasn't. Like I'm with him all the fucking time. He can't go any.
They're homies. It doesn't make sense that he's not in the book because they're like dead homies. They fuck together. They do everything together. So like I didn't quite understand why he wasn't in the story. I did like that Blay had a little bit more bite to him in this book. Because he was like somebody who was fed up. Quinn did kind of act like a narcissistic asshole to him in every book. So for him to be putting up his own boundaries and be like, nah, man, like when he told him like, you could be like the clerk in a store or something to me. Like, you know, like you're my coworker.
Yeah, that was really harsh. That was really harsh. He's like, Saxton's giving me what I need every night. And I was like, ooh, stab the knife.
Zing. You know, so I did like that Blay had a little bit of a backbone, but I didn't like that he got shady a little bit later. And I did think that it would have been, I felt like the story could have been richer if Quinn talked about how he wanted a young with Layla. Blay didn't necessarily have to like it or not, but I like that he went and got Pain, and then they could have bonded over the
pregnancy being lost.
The pregnancy, and that Blay could have really, really played more of a part in that for Quinn. And that's the kind of thing that like makes people fall in love sometimes to me. Like when you see somebody playing with, when you see like a guy playing with kids and he's really interactive and whatever, that gets your like ovaries popping. Do you know what I'm saying? Totally. It gets you all tingly. And I felt like they didn't have to have this weird angst that felt really contrived. They could have had just a more in-depth love story that took a little bit slower time, but it built out of a deeper well. So that's kind of how I felt like about that. And like,
like even having Blay like come in or something, you know, when Quinn is there with Layla and Blay, you know, Quinn could have been like, stay with me and like hold my, you know, and he could have like held his hand or something. Yeah. Except for that you couldn't do any of that because Blay lied the whole book about still being in a relationship with someone else. And so Quinn wasn't doing anything in public for the whole book because he didn't want to jeopardize that relationship and to make like Saxton feel bad or Quinn like look like a cheater. Yeah. And so like you can't like there's no foundation then. Like I think I get what you're saying earlier about like it was fine that he lied the first time because he was like caught off guard and he's like, why would oh yeah, I guess he's waiting for me and he's like, what's going on here? But I feel like he should have come clean. Like when he tells him like, oh, Saxton's leaving on a trip for a few days,
Yeah.
I feel like he should have been like, also, like, we aren't together anymore.
Yes. He had a lot of places he could have said that very easily.
Yeah.
And I feel like I would have liked to have seen, so like, you know, when Layla goes to the doctor and they won't, and Havers won't like give her the result of her test. He's like, wait, you're chosen.
Bitch.
And he starts treating her basically like a non-person. And he's like, bring your Primal if you want, like, you know, and I was, man, that scene made me, one, really angry. But two,
fuck Havers.
That would have been a great place for Blay to step in. That would have been a great place for Layla to build a bond with Blay to help her get her result, or to like bring her to the clinic, or to like, you know, bow up to Havers. Blay doesn't strike me as the bow up type, you know, like to fight. You know, I know he's a brother, but outside of like fighting lessers, you don't really see him confronting anybody. And I would have kind of liked to see him be a little bit confrontational, especially in this book where he's much more froggy. He's much more willing to like, you know, be a little bit of a dick. And then I think that it would, you know, I think it's important that with Layla having the baby, that they kind of operate like a throuple, except for without the sex, you know, like Layla's part of the unit. And so I would have liked to have seen them incorporate Layla a bit more into their sort of kind of unit, including at like the end of the book, you know. So at the end of the book, he proposes to him, and I didn't see that coming. I did not feel like
it didn't make any sense because they wrapped up their thing in the last chapter. Like, like that would have made sense if they had like seriously gotten together mid-book and then spent a half of a book like in a relationship, working through shit, like dealing with the pregnancy stuff, like bonding closer, dealing with some sort of external. Like, why wasn't the threat external? You know, like more lessers or whatever. Who cares? And then, you know, by the end of the book, I did not think that the proposal, I liked it in the sense that I thought it was very beautiful, like, you know, dance with me in front of all of our friends and family, like a very clear statement from Quinn that like, I am not ashamed, and I am not ashamed to tell everyone that it's you and I want it to be you. Like, that is a beautiful sentiment, I think. And I love that he invited Blay's parents and like that they embraced Layla and were really excited for her. I thought that was nice. I also, okay, so obviously, again, Blay cheating really fucked this whole book. But if Blay hadn't been cheating or hadn't been lying rather, and they earlier, because he goes and he comes out to his parents in this book. So first he comes out to his mom, then he comes out to his dad, and they have the best reaction I think probably anyone who comes out to their parents about any sort of thing could ever have, which is, we still love you. We don't think anything less of you. Like, you should, we wish that you had felt comfortable telling us sooner. Yeah. But like, had he not been lying and had Blay and Quinn been able to like actually start to form a relationship earlier, they could have had a really sweet scene where Blay brings Quinn to his parents' house and is like, because, like, they already love Quinn. And Quinn's like, hey. And Blay's like, hey, we're, you know.
we're a couple. Surprise.
And, like, I think that, and Blay's, like, I can just imagine Quinn's, like, worry that they won't accept him and that they'll be mad. And, you know, his mom, they always talk, you know, I think they did a great job describing her and how she would, you know, just wrap him up and be so happy to have two sons. And, like, I feel like that stuff, that could have been such a lovely thing.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me, I'm going to move a little. Tell me how you felt about their sex scenes.
I was going to say one of my main points was when Quinn orgasms and Blay's like, oh, I know why he did that. And I was like, orgasm is lube. This motherfucker can go for days. Oh my God. One of the reviews that I read said something about like, they're vampires. They can orgasm for 20 minutes. So I'll just forgive the fact that there's never any anal preparation during this book.
Never is, boy.
Yeah.
Oh man. I did think that their sex scenes were pretty hot. Though I thought
they were hot.
Sometimes I had rewound because I was like, wait, what went where? Who went down?
Huh?
And I realized I think that sometimes the pronouns in the book or the way that it's written, you are it's a little ambiguous as to who's doing what or who's saying what sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know, in other parts of the books, you don't know what brother necessarily says a line or something like that. And so for this one, I kept rewinding it because I was like, wait, is Blay going down? Is that Quinn going down?
I could see that. Okay. I could see that because she doesn't use names very often in those scenes. And that is very, even when you're reading it, you're kind of like, okay, I kind of get what's happening here. Because you have like line breaks to go by. Okay, that must be the other one talking. But I thought their sex scenes were hot. Like when Quinn's like fucking him all the way across the room and just like giving it to him. I was like, all right, okay, I'm into it. I did think, but like the other thing about Blay's character that I wish had evolved throughout the book more was at the first time they hook up, he kisses Blay really sweetly. And Blay like freaks out and panics and is like, I don't want that from you, and leaves and like crushes Quinn's heart. And that totally made sense to me. That panic to like protect your own heart when you know it could get broken so easily. I was I know that feeling and I accept that. However, then throughout the rest of the book, because he's lying and never is honest about his feelings, he, every time they're together, like one of the times Quinn's like standing behind him and like kisses his neck and he sees it in the mirror and like is going to stroke his chest. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I know you don't want that for me. And like backs off. Yeah. And I was like, that, like, Blay never, like, I felt like this whole book was Quinn reaching out, and Blay never having the courage to reach back.
Yeah. So I think that's like, you're hitting the nail on the head for me, which is like, they kind of flipped positions in this book where the whole time leading up to this, Quinn has been like, no, 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 no. And now Quinn is like, hey, I'm here. And Blay's like, no, 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 no. Mm-hmm. So it's a little frustrating, but I mean, like, I accept it for the point of the book. But I do feel like you do, which is just that, like, it just felt super thin, and it felt like it went on too long, and it felt like
too long, for sure.
It felt like there was no communication, and I always find that a lot of romance novels can be like the plot, like if the conflict can be solved with one character saying one line.
Yeah, totally. What did you think about the fact that Blay, I mean, obviously we've covered the fact that he just doesn't listen this whole book, but what do you think about the fact that he basically like tells Quinn he doesn't know who he is because he refuses to say that he's gay? And then he's like, or bi, or whatever. And I'm like, Quinn has said that he's bi. He told John he was bi like 2 books ago or 3 books ago.
Yeah, so
but like it makes me mad that he's trying to force Quinn to say that he's gay when he's clearly bisexual because he has sex with both males and females and likes both of them. So I didn't like that at all, that he like forced him. Like, it felt very weird to me that Quinn at the end says, I am gay, because it felt like what it felt like he should have said to me is, I told you once that I saw myself with a female long term, and that's only because of my family, because I didn't want, like, I was living under what they thought I should do, but like, it's always been you, versus like, no, I am gay, because he's, at least in my mind, the way he's been written the last 10 books, he's not.
I understood where Blay was coming from because he was frustrated at that point, and he's like, "Fool, just admit you're gay. Like, you like boys. Like, just say it." Yeah. Like,
but that's at 88% of the book, and he was like, that was so far. I'm sorry to contradict you, but I have to. It's 88% of the book, and he had already said to Blay, "I want you. I like you. I'm only not telling people because you are still with Saxton." So, like, had this come earlier in the book, I would have been like, I get it. But 88%, like, that's the end of the book.
That's the end. That. I mean, you have a point there. I'm not gonna say you don't. I'm not gonna say you don't have a point there. Like, that argument just should have come way sooner than it did. And I'm with you where I don't feel like Quinn is gay. I feel like Quinn is bi or pansexual or whatever it may be. But I don't feel like he just likes boys. I mean, I agree with you on that, because it should have just happened It should have just happened sooner. I would have liked to. That would have been a great catalyst, though. That right there, that fight would have been a great catalyst midway through the book to really push this in a direction.
Yeah.
But I feel like we got the push for this book. Like, we got the momentum for their story at the very end of the book. And so we think it's going to coast out for X amount of time. But when the book ended, I was like, wait, what? Like, I felt very much like, wait, this is the end of the book? Like, I remember looking down at the chapters, and I was already on like chapter 70, and I was like, this book can't be that much longer.
I know.
There's like two more chapters, and we still hadn't had any sort of
they had no resolution between them.
Yeah. You know, and so yeah.
I'm going to tell you all the things that happened in the last 4% of this book. Okay? Because it's a lot, okay?
Dime.
So, Beth thinks that something happened to Layla. Blay says that she knows where to find Quinn because Quinn forgot his phone. So he goes to the bar. This is all the last 4%. Goes to the bar. He finds Quinn, says, oh, he's going to fuck one of these people. Quinn sends all these people away. Quinn goes through the revolution, Quinn tells Blay that he is gay and that he only couldn't do it because of his upbringing sort of brainwashing him. Blay realizes that he took Quinn's virginity and apologizes. Quinn is like, no, I wanted it to be you. I'm fine with it. Blay finally admits that he is not actually with Saxton anymore. Quinn tells him that he loves him. Blay says he's with me when someone tries to hit on Quinn, and that he's proud of Quinn and has always been proud of him in the male that he is. And I'm like, what about in this whole book when you've been saying horrible things? And they get together, and Quinn it fast forwards a week, and Quinn does the proposal. All of that happens in the last 4% of the book.
Yep.
Yeah.
Week.
So, like, that feels like all those conversations should have been, like, throughout a quarter of the book. Like, coming in different times, through different situations.
I was afraid that I was not going to like this book very much before we started reading it. And I was praying to God. I was like, please let me love this book like I did before. But I legitimately skipped to all the sex scenes, I think, the first time I read this book.
I honestly
feel like are hot.
I honestly feel like I was just so excited that they finally got together that I just ignored how much the problems were.
Yeah. Also, there's one aspect I know that is a problem for me in rereading these books, which is just that in general, like, as a woman, I'm woker and a bit more fed up with things. And so I'm recognizing, and I've been going through all this self-growth and learning about different behavioral patterns and this and that and whatever. And so when I was younger, this looked like a normal, healthy type of storyline and relationship type thing. Now, it's like, I feel like it's 10 years later. Now I'm like, ain't nobody got time for that. Like, do you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, all this like angst and whatever. I'm like, I ain't no time for that. I'll move on. You know how many fish are in this sea? I don't even have to throw out my net and I catch fish. Like, so for me, this book, I think I'm seeing it with just a fresh set of like eyes and perspective than I did when I was younger.
I also probably didn't pay attention to the timeline as much. I mean, I know for sure when I read these books the first time, I was like, how long has this book been? Like 4 days? That doesn't make sense. Whatever. But I always, again, I forgive so many things because it's paranormal. I'm like, whatever. They bonded. It's fantasy. It's okay. It's been 4 days. Whatever.
And wait a minute. Another question, right? In another book, Quinn releases a bonding scent for Blay.
Yeah.
Right? In this book, I don't remember them talking about him releasing a bonding scent. Do you remember?
He says the first time that they had sex that as he's like licking down his stomach, he's like, I know I was leaving my mark all over him and I was going to leave it inside him too, or something like that. One thing I didn't like though was that so obviously they've talked a lot in this book about how you have to feed off of, for nutrition, the other gender. The other gender. And because otherwise, obviously, they could just feed each other during battle or something if someone lost a lot of blood. And so, obviously, it made sense that they had to go to a chosen to get their nutritional needs. And that scene was super hot when Quinn like squeezes in between and is like shoves Blay's hand down his pants to jerk him off while he's feeding. And I was like, I feel bad for this little chosen who is now getting like the erotic show of her life. But I also feel like they would be biting each other for sexy time purposes because Blay and Saxton always have bites. So they're biting each other. But I do not feel like there was enough biting and drinking. Like, I don't even think Blay ever bit Quinn. Quinn bit Blay to like, but they described it as like to keep him in place while he like dominated him, and which I was all for. But I don't feel like we got the like sexy time sucking and pulling.
Well, I don't remember the like sucking and pulling. I mean, I guess Blay did it with Saxon, but I don't remember it. Maybe they can't feed. Maybe the boys can't feed off each other. I don't. No,
I just remember them having bite marks.
Yeah, but like biting somebody or biting them and sucking their blood and pulling is so much different. Like, I love biting. Biting is great. I mean, like, I love to be bit. I love to bite. But I mean, breaking skin and doing all that is a whole nother.
I think they just, okay. I hear what you're saying, and that could be true. I feel like the way that it was written in past books was that they were like lover bites in the same way that like the other couples were leaving bite marks on each other while they were feeding during sex. That's the way I read it anyways.
Got you.
Yeah, if you guys know the answer to that, please let us know on Instagram because obviously you guys know more about these things than we do. So let us know.
They do.
You guys know
I learned so much off of Instagram. Every time somebody's like, no, this happened here in this book. And a lot of people know more of the discrepancies between the books than we do, which is really great to hear. But it's the more we read this, the more discrepancies I'm seeing from story to story to story that I did not see. Also, the other thing that JR had in her favor was that, how much time you had to wait between books. You would forget the fine details of a story by the time you had gotten to the next one. So the fact that we're reading these so fast and consecutively, is really showing the holes. It's not good.
Showing a lot of holes. It's a lot of holes.
A lot of holes in my favorite stories, man. Started with V and it hasn't gotten better. At least John Matthew and Zex held up for me. At least they held up.
And Revenge. And Zadist.
And Revenge. But even Revenge's book wasn't as I love the book, but it didn't have the same oomph it did when I first read it. Or whatever. John Matthew and Zex and Zadist's book were the only ones to me that had the same power, like oomph, as when I first read them.
Yeah. All right, well, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to dip into the many, 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 many side plots that fill this book.
Hello, best friends. Thank you for being loyal listeners of Romance at a Glance. We're so happy to have you. If you'd like to support us further, head over to Patreon, where you can become one of our patrons. We've got a lot of great perks, such as merch and a super secret discussion group where Bridget and I talk to you directly about all things romance and all things nasty. So come on over. And now, back to our show.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's start off with Layla, because Layla had a lot of this book. I know we talked a little bit about her. And we'll talk about Score and the Band of Bastards also at the same time. Layla has been growing on me, and I thought that you would probably be very pleased by Layla in this book because Beth is like, oh, well, you survived a cult. And Layla's like, did I?
Did I?
I thought you would have liked that scene.
I did like that scene.
Yeah, you were in a cult.
It's when that scene happened, I was like, see, Bridget? In my mind, I was like, see, Bridget? See?
I knew you were going to say
it. But I think it's also showing that Layla's like, wait, did I? And when Payne came to her to save the baby, and she was like, we're both have been a victim of my mother. And Layla was like, I was? But she was. I mean, even in this book, she tries to go to the doctor and she has no agency at the doctor. She tries to go out for a joyride in the car and then the Doggin doesn't want to let her take the car. Like, she can't do what she wants whenever she wants.
I did like in this book, though, and I feel like it's been sort of building a little bit. And that I liked in this book, though, that she finally actually does, like, get herself some agency.
She does.
Like, I thought Fury was totally out of character when he was so mad at Quinn and, like, blaming everything on Quinn and acting like an asshole. I thought that was super out of character and weird. And she's like, go fuck yourself. I resent it. I revoke being a chosen. You can shove that shit up your ass. I do what I want now. Like, when I was like, snaps. And then when he's like,
even when she was
Quinn,
at the doctor.
Yeah.
When she was at the doctor and they're trying to block her way. And she's like, she's like, absolutely not. Do you know who I am?
Yeah. And I will tell the Primal. Yeah. Watch me. Yeah. Yeah. And she like threatens Fury and is like, if you harm one hair on his head, I'm going to come and get you. And she's like,
yeah.
Like, I liked in this book, and, like, when Fritz doesn't want to give her the keys, she even says in her, like, internal dialogue, I normally, like, would have gone back to my room, but no more. And she's like, give me the keys. I am going. So I like that she finally embraced a little bit of backbone and that she's kind of becoming her own person a little bit.
Yeah. The other thing is we see Selena, like, Trez and I am, when Trez sees Selena, you know, and he's talking to her, and she's very uncomfortable. He's like expressing how he adore his adoration for her. And then Fury comes out and Selena like rushes away, you know, and I just kind of took, you know, with Layla and Selena, these moments to be like, yes, I know that they're supposed to be free, but like they ain't free. Yeah. And the fact that the Chosen is feeding, you know, Blay and Quinn, and they're doing the hand job. Like, that's just rude. I mean, low key though, like they are people. They are people, and I feel like it's so rude. And so even though that they're free, nobody's actually giving them any sort of real respect in any of these books. You know, so the fact that Layla does at this book kind of get a backbone and use it, I feel like. It just made me happy. It made me happy that, you know, I remember when I read The Chosen, I only made it about 2 chapters in, I feel like, and I was so angry with the fact that Layla was constantly having to defend herself in what she was doing that I stopped reading the book. Like and I have such a hard time just cold turkey stop reading a book. If I start it, I'm committed to finishing it. And that book, I never made it past the 2nd chapter because all I remember is the frustration I felt with her just being like, like, leave her alone. Let the girl do her thing. You know what I mean? So yeah.
People don't let pregnant people do the things they want to do.
You know, she had already had the baby at that point in her book.
In The Chosen?
In The Chosen, I think she already had her baby because they were like raising the baby. Blay and Quinn were babysitting the baby, or Blay was babysitting the baby.
What's the book where she gets together with Score then? Because she doesn't have the baby yet in that book, or does she get together with Score? Because she sees Score while she's pregnant, or is that a subplot?
Well, in this book, she sees him and she's pregnant.
I know, but I feel like there must be she must see him in the other books in between The Chosen.
Yeah, in between these books, they do. Because I remember that the first thing that happened in The Chosen was that she had gone to see Score, or that Quinn finds out she went to see Score while she was pregnant. Or whatever. Okay. And he gets pissed or whatever. And he tries to lock her down. He tries to take her baby or some shit. And
and then he tells Blay that Blay's not the dad. And I was like, we went through enough with these two. I don't want this nonsense.
I'm like, you know. But anyways, it just goes to the fact that the Chosen have absolutely get no respect. They get no respect for shit.
They don't. You know who they do get respect from, though? I thought the scene where she sees Score and he, like, takes all of his weapons off and comes in the car. And he's just like, you're always on my mind. And... like, I can't believe you let me touch you. Like, he's just like, he's like so in awe of her beauty and just like her presence and the fact that she would even deign to look at him. And I thought that scene was very sweet. Like, very romantic and very heartbreaking because they both are like, this is the only time we'll ever see each other. Yeah. Which obviously doesn't pan out. But at the time, I thought it was very lovely.
I thought it was really lovely too. And I did think that, like, Layla has always been very caring in all of these books. She's very compassionate, and I like the fact that with Score, she doesn't, he has the cleft like lip, or his lip is messed up somehow, and they kind of talk about that not being an issue, and so I'm sure that, like, for Score, who's always been ashamed of his appearance, and the prostitutes don't want to even sleep with him, he's got to pay them extra and whatever, and here's this chosen who, like, wants to be near him, wants to that is pulled to him, and he's pulled to her, and she's not screaming and running away. I think is like, I think it just makes it all the sweeter, and it's, I think it is kind of funny though how these big old Black Dagger Brotherhood and Band of Bastards guys can have these kind of sweet romances. Like, they're dicks. In other scenes, they're just straight up like dicks. Yeah. And then here you go, you see this guy just drop all his weapons and be like, what can I do for you, my queen? Yeah. What can I do for you, my queen?
My sweet love. Yeah, I mean, he even, like, to the point where he knows where the Black Dagger Brotherhood is now. Could find them. Could go kill them all in their sleep or take one of the females, but he won't risk it because she's there.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. I also feel like that, I mean, it's just like a romance thing in general. You always want the guy to, like, want you that much, but also is like a very paranormal thing where, like, once you find your mate, it, like, rewires your circuitry, basically. It makes you change your the goals of your life. Now she's the goal of your life. Which,
I think it helps that JR had him already in the other books where he, had given Thoreau to the Black Dagger Brotherhood, had him start changing on his own. Like, so he shows this pattern of behavior, because if it had just come to, like, this book or their book and he made a total, 180. About face, then, like, we wouldn't have believed it. We would have been like, nah, like, you're not saved by the pussy. You know what I mean? Like,
even in this book, she says, can't something be done? And he's like, sorry, stuff's already in motion. It's too far. I can't go back now. Which, I totally agree. I do want to just briefly touch on the sex scene that the Band of Bastards had again.
Oh, please do.
Good God, those motherfuckers can fuck.
Oh, they can fuck.
Those boys know how to go to Pound Town. The scene where they're describing how, like, two of them are latched onto the wrists, the other one's fucking the mouth, the other one's fucking the pussy, and I was just like, squeeze.
It reminds me sometimes, like, the way they fuck, because they're never alone when they do it. It's like, it's like using all of the chicken. It's like, oh, we can get one prostitute, and we can just use all of the chicken. You get the legs, you get the wings, you get the head. We make some soup. We make a little soup with the head. We make
some feet in there. It's fine. We eat the feet.
We waste nothing.
That is so true. Also, like, I feel like you'd be, like, drained. A human being would be drained of blood if that many people ate from you. But I also, And then I like that she was describing how they all of a sudden they became, like, more and more animalistic as it went on, and they started, like, hitting each other and trying to shove each other out of the way to get to whatever they wanted to do, which I just thought was really funny. But
that also, I feel like more like chicken.
I know, but the sad thing I feel like is that because at the moment we haven't had any thruples, all of those people are going to eventually, like, single pair off, and they're not going to be kinky anymore at all.
No.
Like, they're all going to become very vanilla. And I feel that, like, I did like, actually, that Blay and Quinn went to the club and, like, fucked in the club bathroom. Yeah. Like, Blay's fantasy. I was like, oh, that's nice. But, yeah, I feel like everyone's just going to get so vanilla. And I'm like, can't somebody just tie somebody up? I'm just saying.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, now, when I first read these books, I was not in the kink community. I didn't know enough about kink. I was just knowing in my head that I knew I was, like, a kinky person, but I didn't know what that meant. So reading these books for me was, like, some of the first introduction to more graphic sex scenes and that sort of thing. So in my brain, I'm like, woo-hoo-hoo, titillating. But upon a reread of an older me, like,
sure,
they're not, these books are not kinky. Yeah. They are not kinky at all. They're all, I mean, the sex can be nasty. The sex is nasty, but it's still very vanilla sex. You know, and I want someone to get tied up. I need someone to get tied up. I want some biting. I want a little choking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Nobody's getting choked.
You know what I'm saying? A little breast.
Nobody's even getting like aggressively like spanked or or just like there are a couple scenes where someone tells someone what to do, like lay on your back, and you're like, okay, what's gonna happen? And then like nothing more happens, and I'm like, no, give some more directions. What should they do with their hands? What should they do with their mouths? What should they do with their genitals? Like, tell us. Set the stage.
More dirty talk.
More dirty talk.
Yeah.
And I thought Quinn was gonna be that, because Quinn was like, I thought he was gonna be more of a dirty talker. I
thought he was going to be a little kinkier too, because he's got all the piercings and the look and the aesthetic of him. I just thought he had piercings at one point, but because I just thought he was going to be kinkier.
And because it's like the only couple that's two males, I was like, oh, are we going to get some like, not like fighting during sex, but some more like primal, like each trying to dominate the other one.
Yeah.
You know, and like kind of that like when you're like really fucking hard and you're both like trying to fuck the other person into submission. Like I thought that was going to happen. I was pretty stoked about it, and it didn't.
That would have been dope.
That would have been so hot.
I didn't even think of it because I consider Blay to be just so like passively like sometimes, but like that would have been really fucking hot. Remember, especially because they got weapons.
Yeah, they leaned over. Like, and I thought it was going to happen when he was in the weight room and he was like at the beginning of the book and he was hard and he was watching Quinn run and do pull-ups and work out. And he was just like, looked like he wanted to just I was like, oh, it's about to go down. And it did go down eventually, but just not in that way.
Yeah, I could have used a little edge play. But anyway.
Okay, so it feels like Assail and Sola, though, might have a little edge play, because she got real turned on when he bent her over and was like holding her prone, and she all of a sudden, and then he was like fucking that prostitute and staring at her through the window.
Oh,
and
God, yes.
I was like, oh, hells yes.
Oh, yes. When he like snatched her up, I was like, oh, I mean, I know this is not going to be a sex scene right now, but oh, this could be the start of a good one, right? Like,
yes.
Oh, yeah. I was with you.
One thing I didn't like was that it felt like it kind of intertwined a little, I guess, because he's like adjacent to the Glymera, and even though he doesn't want to be in the like leaders council and stuff, but it also felt like he's not really a part of like it didn't feel like he was a part of the main story in the sense that he wasn't a part of Quinn and Blay's story.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. Like it felt like a completely separate story to the other stories of the book. Yeah. That said, I did like their story a lot and I was intrigued, but it did not feel a part of the same.
Well, I feel like that's I feel like that is characteristic of J.R. Ward, because remember like the story where Murder was up in the attic.
Yeah, and fucking
you know,
ghost
like
shit. I was like, get this
like a ghost fucking like. Yeah. I feel like she always puts these little vignettes in other stories, but she has to start building the story so that we can get to theirs. So I didn't mind their story. I also thought their story was way more interesting, and I wanted to get to that way more than Quinn and Blay. Like I agree. Quinn and Blay were getting on my nerves. So. Like, I love the chemistry between them. I even like when they kind of come to like a truce later on, you know, which is like, look, I won't hunt you. You don't hunt me. We, you know, whatever. What I did not like was that Saul got kidnapped. Captured.
I did like, okay, so she got kidnapped by humans, though.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. All the strongest women in these books got kidnapped.
But one thing I did like about her kidnapping, though, was because we were in her mind when it was happening. And she was like, hurry up, you incompetent fools. Like, because she didn't want her grandma to get hurt. And so I liked that she was like calm and steady. And she was like, this isn't the worst that's ever happened. I'll get out of this too. And I was like, oh, she about to fuck you guys up. You better watch it. So, yeah, but I agree. Kidnapping the females does happen in like 70% of the books now or something like that. It's hard out there for a woman, man. It's hard. Always getting snatched up.
Easy. Like, I'm like, come on, JR. Like, And it's like, and they're always the strongest women. Like, why is kidnapping the thing?
Kidnap Layla. She not strong? Why are you kidnapping a warrior? Why are you kidnapping the warriors? Yeah. Speaking of strong women, we did find a little bit more out about the shadows, Trez and I am, and how do they pronounce it on the audiobook? Their culture. The Sibsi? Hibsi?
Oh.
Sibsi?
Sahibsi? So I don't...
Sabib?
It's like Sabib. It's like Sabib or something. But I, honest to God, they say it so quickly that I don't quite understand. Okay. Yeah, but yeah, so it's like Sabib.
I probably should have looked up the phonetics of this before the podcast started, but I didn't. So, dear listeners, just figure it out on your own. I did think it was cool, though, that he has the opposite problem, which most female characters have, which is that he was mated at birth to the princess and now is expected to come back and fulfill his obligation and become sort of like a secluded male where he's just there. He's just there to have sex with her and make babies. And he has no other purpose.
Of course, now he's like, oh, I like this chosen Selena here. Like, you know. So the thing is like, they describe him as just having a lot of like anonymous sex throughout this book as like a protest to like not going to the queen and not doing whatever his duty is.
Try and like sully himself so much that they wouldn't take him anymore.
Yeah, you know. And I did think it was cool though that they moved into the Brotherhood because
that was fun.
Yeah, I wanted that to happen in other books. I was like, you guys are like all on the same team at this point. Like, I need you to be a part in the Brotherhood so that I can get more story with you guys involved in it when I get the story of the brothers and stuff involved. The addition to this book that I did like, I don't remember their names, but Asael's cousins.
Oh, Avail and Eric.
Yes, who come to work with him and live with him. I was like, and since we found out on Instagram that someone told us that they are going to get a Menage book later on with the two of them. That
is what that's the word on the street. I mean, whether it happens or not, who knows? But that's the word on the street.
But as soon as I saw them come in, I was like, oh, because you know I like my Menage books, Bridge.
I know you do. I know you do. I did like that Asael was like, I want them to be alive. And they're like, what? Like, we do that. And he's like, what about last time? And they're like, well, And then one of the brothers is like, I wouldn't do that. And he's like, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the other one. And the other one's just like, doesn't say anything. And then he comes back and like everyone got slaughtered. And he's like, what did I say?
It was like 3 bags of heads.
Yeah. And they're like, what happened was they were lessers and we killed them first and didn't say any questions. I'm sorry. So I like Asael in general. I think the cousins are cool. I think Solo was cool. I like Solo's grandma. Like, I'm down for it. I do feel like, this is book 11, end of season 2. This is our final episode of this season. So let's recap really quickly all of the couples. Because I feel like we were hoping that we were going to have lots and lots of 5-star couples. And I think we were a little more disappointed than we thought. So in the 5-star category, we have Zadist, John, Matthew, and Zex, and Revenge.
Yeah.
5 stars all around.
5 stars.
Tier 2, we had Wrath and Beth.
Butch and Marissa.
Rage, and Pain. I would say that's probably fair.
Yeah.
Maybe
Pain's between like a 3 and a 4.
Yeah. And then the tier below that, I would put this book.
Yeah.
I would put Fury, Fury's at the very bottom for me. So I would put Lover Unbound with Vicious and Jane. And then at the very, very bottom, I would put Fury.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. What about Tohr? I'd put Tohr and Autumn, I guess, with like Vicious and Pain above Fury.
I would put them as that book was for me, I think, a solid 3.
Yeah. So I put them in the category of this book. So unfortunately we had a lot more like 3s than we thought. We were hoping this was going to be more of like a 4 or 5 star season, and I feel like it was really more of a 3-star season.
It really was. I didn't foresee that we were not going to enjoy some of the books like we used to, because we bonded over the Black Dagger Brotherhood. That is like, I think we were sitting at the table talking, and I think I said something about the Black Dagger Brotherhood, and you were like, wait, the Black Dagger Brotherhood, and that's how we found out we both like romance.
I know.
And that we both read the novels was because of the Black Dagger Brotherhood. So it was kind of like really sweet that we were reading this for the whole season, this season. And now it's kind of bittersweet because it's like, oh man, like our favorite books are not holding up to the test of time.
I know. Plus, dear listeners, I do have to say that these books are really long, and it makes doing the podcast a little bit challenging because there's so much to cover. Like some of our ones last season, the book was only like 250 pages. And there's only really like one central character, one subplot. So it's much easier for us to go through and to make notes and to sort of enjoy the feels and the sexy times. In these books, sometimes I'm like, okay, well, there's like 75 pages of lesser nonsense that I don't want to read, but I'm going to read now for this podcast. So I have to say that I'm actually really looking forward to, even though contemporary is not my favorite genre, it's not your favorite genre, I'm actually really looking forward to having some contemporary summer, just like fun, fast, happy reads, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the quickies. I used to call them the quickies, all the books that were under like, 200 pages and stuff.
I don't think we're reading under 200. That's I feel
like
a novella. Under 250, under 300. Okay. I'll give you 3.
under 300. It's still for me like a quickie. Anything under 300.
I think that's what we should call season 3, our summertime quickies.
Our summertime quickies. Oh, I like that. Look, we just had an idea. Did we have an idea on the air? Look at that.
Yes, we did. Live ideas. Live.
Oh man. I like these books are so long, and I found that this book was really difficult to get through. I mean, you know me, I was like, how about we record it tomorrow? Okay, how about tomorrow, Bridget? How about tomorrow?
Yeah, that was like 10 days ago. I was like, all right, fine.
I'm happy, we're done now with the season for Black Dagger Brotherhood. I mean, there's way more books for you listeners to get on. But I'm a little bit wary to read more in the series because I'm like, oh, am I gonna hate where it's going?
I know. I don't want to ruin it for myself.
Yeah,
even more than we already just did.
Because if we had never reread this, then I would have been recommending the Black Dagger Brotherhood to everyone. And it's not that I'm not recommending it, but I'm not recommending it with as much zealous and zeal as I would have.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to be more like, well, if you like paranormal, this is, Black Dagger Brotherhood series. Whereas before I would have been like, oh my God, you've got to read the Black Dagger Brotherhood.
I 100% agree. And I would just like to say, oh, sorry, go ahead.
And I wanted this to be made into a TV show and a movie and that sort of thing. And I'm a little bit kind of like, I'm just rethinking that a little bit.
I also feel like it would be nearly impossible to do because first of all you have to find some big motherfuckers to be all these characters, and there's a lot of characters in these books, but also the timeline. I mean, you'd have to completely rewrite the timeline to make sense because so much of the stuff is happening in overlapping fashion, and some books take a year, some books take 3 days. It would be a challenge from a script writing perspective. It would be a really challenging series to do. And then from a production perspective, it would be expensive.
Oh my God, it would be so expensive. I've thought about how much money it would take to actually produce this. And I'm like, holy cow.
It would be like Game of Thrones level, because you have all the CGI. Maybe not that much, but it would be expensive. It would be, $10 million an episode probably.
Oof.
Be a lot. To do it well. Although they did do I don't know if you ever read the Cassandra Clare series that they did on Freeform.
Really?
Yeah, and they
What's
had
it called?
Magic and the City of Bones.
Oh, okay. Wait, did you tell me to watch this before?
I think you would like it because one of the guys is so dumb but so pretty, Shawnee. I think you would like him.
like Brock Hearn. Like so, Brock Hearn, man.
He's got these blue eyes. This is piercing, but it's just like dumb as rocks. But it's an enjoyable. The books are also the books are not all my favorites. So those of you who love them out there, please forgive me. But there are some that I like of the series. There's a bunch of those books as well.
I don't mind like a big dumb guy as long as he's not talking. Like, you know me, Bridget. You just put your hand over their mouth, you know?
I think the problem is more that he's just like not a great actor. So it's like a little bit of a struggle, but it's still totally enjoyable.
Listen, I used to follow Brock Hearn before he was anybody on Instagram, and he would do Man Bun Mondays. And all he would do was like, he put some crazy trap beat over. This is like he's a 6'7", like Viking ass white dude, long blonde hair and blue eyes, and that's not even my type. I'm really I like the darkness, like dark features, dark hair. But he was just so beautiful and big. You know I like him big, Bridget. And he would just put his hair in a bun, and then he would reverse the footage. So he'd put it in a bun, and then it would be him taking it out of the bun. When I say I watched his videos like thousands of times, I would go to his. I need to pick me up. I'm gonna go watch his Man Bun Monday. But then one day, and he never talked on his Instagram.
You gotta share one of these on our Instagram stories for the people.
Oh my god! One day he decided he was gonna give an inspirational talk to the people, and what he said made absolutely no fucking sense and was so dumb that it ruined his page for me. I was like, "You beautiful dumb creature. Why? Why?
Shouldn't have done it, Shawnee.
Shouldn't have done it. Shouldn't have done it, man. Like the sapiosexual me was like, God damn it, I can't get off to this fool no more. Oh man. Okay, so what did you rate our Mikiros here?
Oh my god, I was so over this book. I like totally forgot that we didn't even do ratings. Okay, cool. I gave Blay a 2 in this book because I thought he was a lying ass little piece of shit. In the rest of the Brotherhood books, I would have said a 5 because I loved him, but I did not like him in this book.
Okay, so I agreed with you. I gave Blay a 2. I gave him. Honestly, in my mind, he was a 1 for me, and I gave him a point because I did like that he had more backbone in this book, at least, or whatever. But I thought that he was like whack as hell when he was lying and stuff, and his little like bitch tantrums drove me crazy. So he lost a lot of points for those.
What did you give Quinn?
I gave Quinn a 3. I was being generous because I called him a McDaddy, mostly because he knocks up Layla and then like a sugar daddy. But like I gave him a 3 because I felt like he was trying to find redemption in this book. He was not in his same kind of weak pattern that he's been in for all the books, acting like a crazy person. I still felt like he was acting like a crazy person, but since it was less than before, there was growth. So I gave him a 3. But all in all, for me, the book was like, meh.
I gave him a 4 because I did feel like he grew a lot, and I felt like he was very honest, and he was very he was explaining himself, and he was doing the things, you know, like he was standing up for Layla. He was doing the work. He was standing up for Layla. He was being honest with Blay. He was apologizing. He was thanking him. He was asking him to like be with him and make it better. Like, if I can't have you for real, I'll take you however I can get you. And I felt like, so I gave him a 4 because I did like that. I did say that he was a McDreamy who met Mick lies a lot in this book because the lies are too much for me.
Oh, we are both McJudgies.
Dude, I honestly would have been annoyed but fine with it if he had just lied through half the book. But he lied through 96%. That's too much. That's too much. I'm with you. I was like, are we still doing this? Like, every time there were so many points where I was like, okay, now he's going to tell the truth here. Yeah. And then he didn't. And then he's definitely going to tell the truth right here. And then he didn't. I was like, oh, no, I can't see this. All right. Favorite line of the book? I feel like I didn't have as many favorite lines in this book, maybe because I was just like annoyed with it. And so I was like, fuck this book. I'm not taking any good lines from this book. But I mean, like the feelsy one is him saying like, dance with me in front of everyone, be mine and dance with me. And I was like, that's sweet.
I like that one.
The other one I was going to say is Quinn when he tells him, I never thought I'd say this, but you don't know me. And I was like, yeah, I love that. Get to know each other now as like adults, as like you had your childhood friendship and now. But that was like way towards the end of the book and Blay never gets to know him. Like he never does the work. Anyways, sorry, I'm getting off my soapbox. Tell me your favorite line.
No, I'm going to get on your soapbox because I love that premise. Outside of this book entirely, right? Which is like getting to know people as they are now. It was like a couple years ago that I realized that my sisters were all grown women. I was a grown woman. My sisters were all grown women. But we would get together and quickly fall into childlike patterns. Mm-hmm. But we were no longer those people anymore. And people would come to me and they'd be like, Shawnee's crazy. She does whatever. I've mellowed so much over the years and the things I do are so different. But I still have this reputation for being one, like a bohemian hippy dippy child who wears like tie-dye stuff, which one, I never was that person, but because I had natural hair, people would just gift me tie-dyed things. And so because I was cheap, I would wear it. And then people would buy me more because they thought I liked chunky wooden jewelry and tie-dye things.
That's hysterical.
I literally, I wrote my sister a letter and was just like, look, I would like to get to know who you are now. I would like to get to know your interests now. You're a mother now. What makes you tick? What do you want to do with your life? What are your dreams and how have they changed? Like, I think getting to know anybody in your life that you love and you want to keep in your life, it is worth it to always keep an open ear and an open mind and an open heart for when they're changing, because it becomes really difficult when somebody wants to change, but everybody has an image of you in a certain box, And so it's important, I think, to always give the people in your life room to grow and to be a little bit in the growth process. Like to not know what's happening, to be a little out of comfort and whatever. And for them to be able to say, look, I'm trying something new and it doesn't fit quite right yet, So anyway, now I'm getting off your soapbox. Okay. You started it, I finished.
I liked it.
So my favorite quote, I had a couple, but I'll do the ones that I really liked. So the first one is, I am very comfortable with conflict, be it of the legal or mortal kind. My father was a mediator, a bridge maker. I am a grave maker. That was when Wrath was talking to the Glimera at the meeting. Yeah. I was like, yo, Wrath. Now can we go in the back and fuck? Okay. Now that you told me who you are and what your name is, can we go? I loved it. Yeah. I thought it was a great line for them. And then a line for Blay and Quinn. It said, I love you. You are my heart beating outside of my chest.
Yeah, that was nice. All right. I'm going to tell you my favorite review.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you, Shawnee. It's from Sammy Loves Books. He rated it 3 stars. I did feel like, based on his review, that was generous, and he probably should have rated it 2 or 1, but he did rate it 3. I waited for over 4 years and was tortured through 4 books of angst just to get to a novella disguised as a novel. That's right, and I'm pissed about it. I am going to be in the minority of this review. Everyone is swooning over Quinn and Blay finally getting their happily ever after, but I feel that the warden robbed, swindled, hoodwinked, and cheated us and Quay out of the happily ever after. There were so many unrelated stories going on, I found myself hoping for quality time with Quay, but what I got was a whole lot of time spending time building up other love stories for Score and Layla, Asael and Sola, and Trez and Selena. I felt like that was fair.
I'm not even going to read my review because it's basically the same exact thing. Like, I got my reviews from Tekla at Goodreads, so if anybody wants to read it, they can.
Even the scene where Quinn gets inducted into the Black Dagger Brotherhood did not feel as powerful as like Butch's.
Yeah.
And I did that. Like, I thought it was really lovely. Like when he starts crying because he finally feels like he belongs. But she even robbed Quinn of that moment because she was like, he even says in his thing, like, but it doesn't feel as good because, like, something's missing. And I'm like, why couldn't he have that as a whole and be whole in that moment and then go to Blay now as this, like, whole man?
Yeah.
Butch, like, when it happens, he's not in there being like, oh, I wish Marissa was here. He's like, yes, this is what I've always felt like I was missing. This is the piece of me that I was missing. And obviously we had the eroticism with him and Vicious during that scene as well. I don't know, Shawnee, do you think it's worth the read?
I mean, in the series, because if you want to get to the next one, I think you should read all of the books. In that case, I would say yes. If this was an independent book, I would say no. I would say it was not worth the read.
That's the same with me. I would say the same with me. It's like you have to read it if you want to keep going, because by the time you get to Asael and Sola's book, you're not going to know anything about them if you don't read this book.
Yeah.
And like same with Layla, like you're not going to know anything about what happened with her and Score and the baby and everything. So like you have to read it if you want to keep going. But this book was a miss for me. And I'm so sad about it. I've been talking about it for 9 episodes, how excited I was. And now we're here, and I'm so sad.
You remember how upset we were when we realized Tohr was the next book and not this one?
Yeah. I was so pissed off.
But and we just rated that. We just rated that one better than this book.
I know. Man, this series threw us for a loop this season, you guys.
Oh man,
I'm excited. I actually, tell us what you think about it being a whole series in one season versus like each episode is a different book. In some ways, this was really fun because we got to stay with the same characters and sort of like go from episode to episode, getting into everything and referring back to other books and stuff. But in some ways, I was like, it would have been nice to hop around. I don't know. Tell us what you think. Did you like that it was all one season? Because it's something we're thinking about maybe in 2021, choosing a different series or maybe like 2 shorter series to break down. I don't know. But it was also tough because it's like you have every series has at least one dud.
Yeah.
So it's a tough thing.
This one had a few duds.
We want to recommend the 5-star reads. We want to read the 5-star reads, the 4-star reads.
We do.
The ones that make you curl up in a puddle of feelsy goo.
Yeah.
And the ones that make your nether regions a little bit wet, a little bit throbby, perhaps.
Hey,
a little bit excited.
A lot of it.
A lot of it.
What are we reading first in our contemporary season coming up next, Bridget?
Well, kicking it off on May 8th, we are going to start with Well Met by Jen DeLuca. And this is a book that we have seen all over the blogosphere and Instagram sphere. And we were very, very excited to dive into this as our first book of season 3, Summer Quickies. And it is it's gonna be good. It's a tale of what was I gonna say? Oh, it's got some good tropes in it. It's got enemies to lovers. It's got a little bit of everyone dressing up like they're in a fair, so they're kind of acting like someone else and then fall in love with someone else. It's got some angst. It's got some funny sass. It's got a lot of things. It's good. It's gonna be good. We're excited.
Yay.
May 8th.
Yay!
So we're taking a couple weeks off in between this season and next season to get ourselves in order and record more episodes. But we will probably be popping in with a bonus episode or a trailer for season 3 before that time. So keep your ears peeled and join us on Instagram. Subscribe to our newsletter if you want to get all the first looks.
And if you want some of these bonus content, head over to our Patreon, Romance at a Glance, over on Patreon. And we have some really great perks and bonuses and extra episodes and bloopers and shenanery over there.
All right, dear listeners, until next time, may your books be your lover.
And your hand, your best friend.
Thanks for listening.
Subscribe to our channel to get new episodes, clips, and more.
And click here to watch our previous reviews and author interviews.